Welcome to Meta Tripping. This is part 2 of the Starseed calibration video or transmission. It is evergreen, and you will see the way that they connect in the title and the description box as to what star system focuses are coming up and beyond. All right, so next we left off on Pleiades, and we're now going to be looking at the Arcturian focus. This is for the next 2 months. If you're listening to this reading now, at whatever point in time, it doesn't have to match the time listed for the upload of the transmission in the description box. Whatever time this is happening, this will be about 2 months, possibly 3. For those doing, from what Spirit is saying, for those doing deep root work, it could possibly be 3 months that Arcturians will be working on the focuses that come up. This reading is a synthesis reading. Possibly we may pull some binary. I may pull some cards for binary, but we'll really just be looking at synthesis that Arcturians are looking at, which is very interesting. All right. Okay. All right, so Spirit is telling me we'll add a binary focus. Just a moment. All right, so it looks like from the level of how we project ourselves, the binary focus on our calibration level is about following our hearts. The card that comes up is your heart is your compass, and the subtext of the card is you know what to do. And the flower association is Datura. And this card has like a green light that is coming from like the top left portion of the card, and it looks like it's fueling the word heart. And the text itself, you can see like has orbs and that sort of thing, and there are also orbs in the space around it. The energy that I'm picking up, it's like it's time to kind of quit stalling on those matters that are going to expand you into a more expansive presence in this realm, like in the matrix simulation, 3D. More so 4D though is really what is coming through Spirit. But that is the condensation point. So there is a certain degree of multidimensional travel that is going on all the time. Just a moment. With Arcturians specifically. All right. Coming up into that higher level, there is you decide your purpose, and this is a 4D card. Your heart is your compass is also a 4D card. And they both have Datura as the flower essence. That's the moonflower. All right, so some of this has to do with, especially with it being the moonflower, a divine. This is talking about matters of divine, not matters. Okay, it's talking about divine receptivity, and where you place it in your framework. Okay, so Spirit is saying yes. So I'm not entirely sure that I'm fully, but my third eye is, I'm starting to feel like a really strong pulse. My third eye as I'm talking about it, or as I'm transmitting this information. You decide your purpose is, just a moment. When you are working with multi-dimensional traveling, and you feel like you've gone kind of like too far past limits, and past your limits specifically, what Spirit would like you to know is that you've been trusted with this impossible work, is what I'm being given. And Spirit's saying correct. You've been entrusted with this impossible work, because you're fully capable of transmuting anything that comes your way. So when you're when you kind of accept this, when you accept this, you can breathe easier. And Spirit is saying this is going to make sense to you as you hear it. In that process of breathing easy, there is this synthesis, kind of this synthesis point. Okay, Spirit is saying not kind of, but you know, there is a synthesis point to be contended with, is the terminology that's being used. And it looks like it's far away from you and difficult to describe. Wow, this is like really trippy, what I just experienced. The way the transmission came in. Okay. It's going to feel like this is, you know, it's hard to decipher what you must contend with, but what Spirit is relaying is that you already have the universal codes, multiversal codes, in regards to that portion, this portion of dimensional fabric that you've chosen to like reweave. All right, so you know, kind of you can meditate with that to gain a deeper understanding. Okay, because what Spirit is saying is this has to do with like the creation of matter on a meta level. All right. So your synthesis has to do with branching outside of your comfort zone, only to find yourself home again. All right, y'all. I know that sounds like incredibly, right? Probably sounds incredibly abstract. The energy feels abstract. But I'm starting to have a little bit of an easier flow with it, transmitting it. Spirit is saying nothing can remain static indefinitely. A static state is an illusion that we use for our purposes. You know what I'm saying? And like every story is unique. And you have the codes you need. You don't have to worry about downloading them or upgrading. It's like through the act of your birth, and the circumstances surrounding your birth. You have reconciled pre-existential opposites. All right, y'all. For a purpose. And Spirit says, and yes, we are being cryptic for a purpose. um, okay, now I'm being told I can kind of read as I normally would. Um, yeah, it's looking like, okay, so on the binary column of this reading, the card that comes up on the top part of the column, like when we're up leveling, is you decide your purpose. And subtext is heart mission. And interestingly, with all of this talk of incarnation and circumstances at the time of your birth, you know, the heart is, you know, one of the first things to form, to my understanding, in the, you know, just in the earthly, in the, you know, at least human experience when one is in the womb. All right. So below this, and that's 1D. This, I'm sorry, that's 4D. I mistook it for another card for a moment there. My apologies. This sacred blooming was a matter of conception between the aspects of you that were already in your parents from previous generations, and that, like, the histories they contain. All right, so when you are up leveling into expanded strings of the downloads that you already contain, it may be highly disorienting. And it may cause you to be at odds with your own identity, your sense of purpose, your sense of having been born for a reason. And this can be, from what Spirit is saying, like a nowhere place. In your own illusory level of mind. It's like the hell you create for yourself, so to speak. So that may sound a little bugged out, but it's going into the aspects of quantum heart, where you would clash with, where you would normally clash with, like a binary point in another person, place, or thing. It could be like a tribal thing. It can be cultural, from just a deep-seated sense of existence in the cosmos. Okay. And your up-leveling experiences into that, it's going to require you to alchemize your own duality. All right, y'all? And Spirit is saying they will get this. So you'll get this, Arcturians, of course. In the process of, it's not as fast a process as you might normally think things are when you're figuring out how things work. Typically, that's a lightning fast process for you. But under these conditions, it can almost cause you to kind of stop at a standstill. But the more you stop at that standstill, the denser your consciousness becomes. All right, so moving on to synthesis, because this is in the up-leveling portion, there's a synthesis. Spirit's giving me portal. And that is into the element of air, and that's clear sky. Bird of Paradise is the flower that's associated with this card, and the clarity is the subtext. All right. Spirit is saying this is your process of deduction. It is associated with 7D as far as the dimensional focuses go. And the way you'll be working with it, from what Spirit is giving me, is like backtracking, kind of refining old opinions, old generational opinions. As you dare to alchemize them with new information, like updated information. Okay, so we're talking about very ancient things here. Through that process of synthesis, which could take a while, when you come back to that point where you're going to calibrate those experiences, the point that you'll come back to for calibration, you'll find that there's a flowering there now where you can rest and alchemize your sense of purpose. And your sense of positioning with like your multidimensional groups. The multidimensional groups that you feed. And that it's saying like the multidimensional groups that you feed information to. All right, y'all. That was that was a lot. For some of you, it's only going to be like you up level and then you calibrate and then you up level and you calibrate like a couple of times before you complete this process. For others, special cases. The road, along these lines, up leveling, synthesis, and calibration is going to be much longer than you feel capable of enduring. And you'll know who you are as you research your ancestry in meditation. Spirit will guide you from there. Music is going to soothe your soul in degrees that you've never fully experienced before. I felt like I was recording and I wasn't. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you what I was giving empathically. Basically, as complex as all this sounds, it's the empathic vibe I'm getting from it is that it's very you know, it's very simple, but that it has to be given to you in a complex way because of your sense of estrangement from for some of you, your sense of estrangement from humanity, but others of you, just like your sense of distance from humanity and your hyper fixation on the points that you've like chosen to tinker with is what the energy feels like. The solution is very simple there, but giving it to you in a way that you know, in a highly conceptual way, direct from spirit, that you will comprehend as you go through these like very high level experiences, is probably going to help you to process it more than me giving it to you simply just like that, because I think like saying simply what the answer is would piss a lot of you off. I'm getting unequivocally that it would piss a lot of you off because you have a way of doing things and a whole reason why you even got involved in this expansion process for humanity and beyond. All right, y'all. So yeah, I thought like it was recordings at one point and some of the information was lost, but we all know that things happen for a reason. And y'all do like your math problems. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to move on now to Orion. All right, Orions. Whew. All right, Orions, a lot of your work is done. You have synthesized polar opposites within your soul groups. All right, and Spirit is saying that's good for now as far as going into the depth of that statement. Ooh, oh, wow. Okay, so we have cards falling out. And you know, I'm starting to definitely pay more attention to them. You are capable. Okay, so the main thing, it's okay, so Spirit is saying this is not one of the cards that I'll be reading through, but the main thing here as a focus to consider is that you already possess your fortitude. That's the subtext of the You Are Capable card and the Sacred Blooming Suit. So kind of stop looking for ways to become stronger. You've already got it. And I'm seeing like a massive synchronicity as I say that. Okay. All right, so we're doing binary. All right, and we may pull a synthesis card. Spirit will let me know. All right, so at the point of, okay, so starting from the top is joyous expression. And joyous expression, the subtext is presence. This came up in the Lyran video. It's very important. It is a sacred garden card. The 27th card in the Sacred Garden as it was. And the 27 in Chaldean Chaldean numerology is actually a number of artistic karmic reward. So it's the scepter. So, you know, keep that in mind. It's being able to wield the scepter of your vision. Spirit is saying you're coming into higher degrees of that. This is a 5D card. All right. So when you're up leveling, the advice here is to branch out into new pathways. All right. And your psyche will understand this as this is being said to you. Even if it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's not feeling it's resonating on fully conscious level, your psyche is going to comprehend this. Just a moment. I feel like some of you have been getting overwhelmed, kind of in the cosmic spin cycle, if you will, trying to maintain a position, because that's what you're accustomed to doing. Spirit is saying it only serves you to a point. So in your, okay, so I'm being directed to pull a synthesis card. Okay, so when you are up leveling and you are finding that your thoughts feel chaotic and there's panic and distortion and all of that, synthesize that with the 1D, because this is 1D awareness. Well, I mean, it's the card, the, you know, kind of quantum root medicinal effect, if you will, is that this allows you to work from the level of 1D consciousness when you work with this energy. And it's, you are a loving, illuminated being. It's a 6th card in the sacred seed suit, and it's draw in the light. So at a seed level of you, the sacred seed level of you, in that chaos, drawing in light, and especially light that's existential in the realm of matter, realizing that you are a loving and illuminated being, and kind of basking in that awareness like it's sunlight. Like that awareness itself is like sunlight or, you know, or moonlight or what have you. Like you were basking in the light of a luminary. Draw in the light. That's going to help you to gather your downloads without resistance or with less resistance. Okay. The floral essence you can work with is hydrangea. Because the energy with that flower essence, it helps you to come into the essence of processing and assimilating without losing your sense of identity. Okay? All right, so as you do that, you may feel like a need for sleep. This may be where you listen to lecturers, where you successfully synthesizing, you'll find yourself in a state where as much as you've had so much resistance here, you'll be willing to receive. And it does sound like sound is going to it's going to help you with your hypersensitivity to new information at levels that you've considered too vulnerable to allow anyone to access. All right, y'all. And again, your psyche is going to understand everything that's being said right now, so you don't have to worry about cramming to, you know, make sense of it, because this is, you know, we're going through a quantum process, and, you know, your psyche will respond and do what's needed. So in that state of allowing new information to come in, you will bring that into calibration, the calibration level of the binary at the lower binary point, because the higher binary point is that joyous expression where you can, you know, have synthesis with the rays of awareness that you are a loving and illuminated being at, you know, at your sacred seed level. You know what I'm saying? Taking that, not taking, but that as that energy comes into calibration, which is a form of condensation, which is, you know, bringing it into, you could say bringing it into the lower portions of the body is what Spirit is giving me. And in this case. You'll deal with the level of alchemy that deals with self-acceptance. It's also sacred seed level, but it's 8D as above, so below, and it has to do with your thoughts and what your thoughts manifest from this level, all in regards to self-acceptance, and then going back up when you up level. And this can happen rapidly many times in a day, according to like the scripting that you're working with in any given incarnation. So, you know, up leveling into that joyous expression consciousness where you can have enough confidence in your presence that you can receive information and give information. This is a throat chakra thing, because it's a throat chakra card, the joyous expression card. That's at the higher expression of it. That's a higher binary point. The lower binary point is self-confidence. When you confide in yourself, when you have internal dialogue, that is as protective and nurturing as you wish others would be for you. All right. And it's an alchemy, and it's very serious alchemy, and maybe there's a pun intended. This is, you know, with the spelling of serious and the word serious, but it's a serious alchemy. Because your resistance can cause like de-evolution at this point, and unraveling. Spirit is saying, if you don't rise to your challenges and become more multiversal through this process, which is going to, it's like an 8-month process is what Spirit is giving me. So watch out for anger issues, watch out for paranoia, watch out for barricading yourself against the world. You're working on some of your deeper sensitivities, and your defense system could almost be poisonous if you're not very careful with how you handle this. So definitely, you know, do your up leveling, and you don't have to wait for any prompting or any special gateway portal on any kind of day or time or what have you. It's a decision. It's a decision from the heart. When you realize the position you're in is not serving you. And it's time to branch out and find like and new ways of handling the upgrading terrain of this world versus very absolute beliefs that you refuse to let go of. So, you know, that can be extremely challenging work. Spirit is saying you're built for it. And you will succeed if you trust yourself and dare to expand. And by allowing yourself to change. And that everything will still be perfect and in its place in a new configuration. So you don't have to hold on so tightly to your deeply ingrained attachments anymore. it's unhealthy for you to do so, Spirit is relaying. And Spirit is also saying, like, get as much rest as you can, so that you have enough energy for the deeper transmutation work at play. And you will be guided if you ask for it. All right, y'all. I hope that was helpful, Orions. You know, I don't know. I can simplify. I think like what I'm picking up from Orion energy here is there was a lot of abuse that created this hardening point within the self. And you know, dealing with abuse is taking in a lot of toxic energy, especially if it happens at vulnerable times, you know, in younger age, or in like a heightened state of fear because something much bigger than you is being abusive. And you know, those are the questions that the mind generates, like why is this happening to me? There, you know, the energy, if that energy is not worked with, it can become it can become toxic to the system, to your system, because it's energy at this point that needs to be processed out, not held on to. All right, so release for y'all may not be as easy as some might like, but you're certainly built for it. Very, very strong. And guided if you accept the guidance here. So you don't have to feel alone. I mean, that synthesis point, you are a loving, illuminated being, is to realize that you are not alone in this. All right, so Spirit is directing me to move on. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in, and peace and blessings on your ascension journey. Andromedans. All right. All right, so when I put the deck down to just clear my energy in between for a hot second, the card waiting on the top after I kind of did a clearing type of shuffle is Love is Waiting for You, which is part of the Sacred Blooming Suit. It's the 20th card, and the subtext is Let It In. And it's a 10D card, which is Image Ordained, and the flower essence is Willow. All right, so, and Spirit is saying to put that to the left. So it's actually one of the cards we're going to be reading with. And the card it's synthesizing with is going to be put to the right. This is primarily a synthesis reading for y'all, but if a binary focus needs to come in, Spirit will let me know. So the synthesis that's taken place for y'all, when I tuned into the energy, I felt like a sense of heartbreak, which typically when there's a heartbreak, there's a heart opening going underway. And there's a multiple expansion in your case, the Andromedans, through this sense of heartbreak. It's giving you access to higher planes that you would have otherwise thought were off limits to you. All right. Based on literally based on like earlier commands that were given by authority figures. And this can go back generationally. All right. So the way the energy feels is almost like you guys feel stifled, like you guys feel sometimes like you don't know how you're going to go on. You know what I'm saying? Like you just feel like so much energy has been taken out of you. But it's like your heart has kind of closed itself so much to protect itself. that it's difficult for you to let in the energy that have been attempting to heal you for about 2 months now. It's coming through Spirit that you have to become your own, well, you have to, but it would be wise. It would be wise for you to become your own authority figure. Some of you have attempted, simulated an attempt is what Spirit said. Some of you have simulated an attempt in the past to become your own authority figure. But your fears of former authority figures make you feel like you could never have the love that your heart is really crying out for. So Spirit wants to be clear, like this is not a test for you. This is like a facilitation of deep healing that can only be done if you allow it. So it's like you have all of these healing forces around you, but you can't really hear them because you're so focused on the pain of the past that it just drowns everything else out. So the synthesis here will have a lot to do with, okay, well, Spirit is saying I can draw a binary card for ease. I accept myself. It makes a lot of sense. So self-acceptance would be at the bottom portion of this binary situation, the binary aspect, and Paradise Manifest is at the top of that. But Paradise Manifest, the energy of that is synthesizing, well, the synthesis opportunity here is with that aspect of you that where love is waiting for you. All right. And so this is, it's the subtext of Paradise Manifest is to flourish within. It's like you've been given great wonders that are like, a palette. That you can redefine your reality with. But your sense of suspicion, and Spirit is saying this is a good parallel. If you go and you get a rescue animal, it's going to take some time for this being who has dealt with abuse, abandonment, neglect, to allow a new reality to come in that is the direct opposite. But that's what's happening here. The opportunity for synthesis is that it's available to you. It's totally available to you at this time. It has been for at least 9 months from the time of you listening to this reading. So okay, so it's like the universe has all these gifts for you. The multiverse has all these gifts for you. But if you won't accept them, you kind of hold up the group that you're a part of. Because you're a critical member of the group. So some of the things that you can practice, Spirit is saying deep breathing work, where you go into as much of a kind of mind state where you're kind of devoid of thought, and a technique you can use in meditation is just envisioning that thoughts are sailboats, and instead of attaching to them, you let them sail away. So even if a scary thought or an unhappy thought comes up, you're not reacting to it. You are just looking at looking at it as kind of the waters, and it's just a sailboat sailing along, and you let it sail along without attaching. The more you can practice this technique in meditation, the more that you can practice this technique with conscious thought, kind of in your day to day. And this will help to shape a reality where you don't have to put all of the weight of your ancestors on top of your ability to progress. In other words, where you don't have to be held back out of feeling that you're kind of the black sheep of the group. As having some idea that it's your job, or like with, or where you have to contend with not feeling like you fit. Part of the reason that this is so important is because you have new information, kind of that the group kind of desperately needs to evolve. Like your group that you're working with desperately needs this to evolve. So Spirit wants me to leave it there. So that's this synthesis process. You're working to let the love in and to connect with the paradise manifest plane where you can flourish within. And all of this, as you, kind of meditate on this and think on this, can make sense to you on a microcosmic level on how things have played out in your life. So the binary, any binary up leveling and calibration that you have to deal with, it's based on your resistance is what Spirit is giving me. It doesn't have to happen. But there can be like rude awakenings and things of that nature, depending on the degree of stubbornness or hard-headedness, that you kind of dig your heels into. So, resistance is really not the move for you. With the binary focus up leveling and calibration, you go up to paradise manifest. Spirit saying this could be through dream work, art, sacred love, tantra, and then when you calibrate these, and that's just some of the things. But when you calibrate, the color therapy is coming through. When you calibrate this by bringing it, downward into your system, you'll now deal with an I accept myself focus of alchemy. And the flower essence for that card is Impatiens. It's an 8D, as above, so below card. The way this energy through engaging in these different sacred kind of paradise manifest type of practices, you will begin to realize that there is more, like way more than you've been allowed to have. And I'm using the word allowed because the, authority figures are coming up here. And that's going to give you the courage to move towards what you're attracted to. And that is an act of self-acceptance. And this is like moving towards what you're truly attracted to. You might have no problem moving towards things that you're somewhat attracted to, that are conventional, that the group that, you may be the black sheep in, considers acceptable or favorable. But when it comes down to what you're truly attracted to, having the courage to step towards that is an act of self-acceptance. That is how you're going to perform alchemy on this binary level, where it's needed. And that'll open doors to healers who can heal you kind of on like that, earth mundane 3D level, and where you can just start taking some of that weight off of your head, but you're doing it with a lot of kind of that dream time energy. So it feels a lot safer and nurturing. All right. Be good to your heart, Spirit is saying. Don't push yourself into situations that it kind of are making you feel like you're going to explode. Don't make yourself do things that hurt. Your time of doing that is over. You have more to experience, which means you have to break out of your constraints and accept that there are higher probabilities for you. And that in itself, I guess, is news to that level of you that feels neglected, you know, and for some of you, forgotten. You know, Spirit wants you to know you're never forgotten. And there was a purpose for all of this. But it's time for you to heal now. Allow it. And you'll be able to uplift others, which is what you're meant to do. And what comes most naturally. All right? So Spirit is letting me know it's time to conclude that transmission. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful to you. And I'm not sure when I'll do another one. This kind of happened unexpectedly while communicating to beloved spirits, you know, as I was working, you know, well, really transmitting information for this new spread that I'm working with in this format. And this ended up being a Starseed transmission as opposed to like the Zodiac construct, you know, that I've kind of tapped into here and there, or even the binary focus for the dimensional focuses that come up in the weeklies. So we will see what the expansions for the channel are moving forward, because there are different approaches. I'm probably going to keep up the binary weekly focuses, but I don't know if at some point Spirit will consider that it's better for me to, you know, move on with other formats. We'll see how it goes. I'm trying to be as like wise and flexible as possible so I can provide the, you know, kind of the most useful information that I'm able to transmit at any given time in a format that serves this ascension process that we're going through, and serves to make it feel comprehensive and much easier to work with, much less woo-woo, you know. And I say that respectfully because I think it can get woo-woo and disorienting and scary. And I think like just because, you know, there have been very corrupt and negative forces attempting to mess with starseeds and that sort of thing, like I think it's kind of time to get out of like, but what is this and what do I do territory. So that's what this is about. Thank you so much for tuning in, y'all. Peace.